Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you guys for your time. So, in the spirit, can you guys see? Maybe I should be over here. In the spirit of this lovely quote here, I thought I'd just start by telling you a little bit about myself. So, I was born and raised abroad in Shanghai. I lived there till I was about 10 years old, and my family emigrated here. And I've lived all over the US since then, but these days I'm really proud to call Atlanta my home. So I've been a musician for a very long time. Like a good Chinese kid, I was classically trained from a very young age. And then these two photos are about 24 years and a whole world apart. A couple years ago, this photo was taken when I was attending a weekend conference in Savannah called Geekend. Well, not only was I attending Geekend, I was performing at Geekend. So hopefully that'll tell you a little something about me. And what you don't see in that photo is that there are 3 other guys performing with me. They're all clad in long white lab coats. They each are wielding a hacked Nintendo Wii remote, and they're waving those remotes around, using them to modulate and distort everything I'm playing in real time. It was awesome. And it was a really fun collaboration with the world's first, and I think only, Wii remote rock band. So I'm very drawn to sort of like wonderfully wacky and playful projects. So this is my husband and I before we were married. This is in Vancouver, and it's part of a series called Switcheroo. So Katie Hawkins-Garn, her very brave husband, did the same project as well. And for the record, yes, I know Keith looks better in a skirt than I do. It's the long legs. So I'm very lucky. I obviously married somebody who is as silly as I am. So when we got engaged, we decided that we didn't want to do traditional engagement photos. We wanted to make a small series that really represented and captured things that we both love. So hopefully some of you know what this is a reference to. Yes, Doctor Who, yay. So this project involved a lot of cardboard, spray paint, pillow stuffing, AstroTurf, a couple trips to Rigorama. If you're curious, this is a shot from behind the scenes. So the amazingly talented Jason Travis, whom I'm sure many of you know, did the shots for us from the second floor of a loft shooting down. And we were really just laying there amidst all of these giant props that we made. So clearly we are fans of Doctor Who. We also love to ride our bikes. This was a really hard pose, by the way. I had all these muscles on the left side of my body that I didn't know I had. We love to travel, and in particular, we love water. So if Atlanta was near some mountains and water, then I would just be in heaven. We both love music, and in fact, that's how we met, was through Oryx and Craig. And clearly, we're both ninjas. And now we have this very awesome kid who just turned 7 months old last week, and it's pretty wonderful. He's infusing play into our lives in a whole new way. So, all right, so hopefully now you guys feel like you know me a little bit better. And what I'm really excited to talk to you today about is how I've somehow managed to integrate play into what I do at work. And thank you, Alicia, if you're here for this wonderful quote. So I work at Turner Broadcasting in our Midtown campus, and for the last couple of years, I've been really lucky to lead up this team called Insights and Inspiration. So we get to work across all of these fun Turner brands, and our mission is really to look to the future, look around the globe, look to other industries, or what excites me more is the intersections of other industries. And what I'm really mining for are patterns, global trends, culture shifts, new technologies, really anything new new and innovative and exciting and bringing that information back to Turner. Because I'm situated within the media group, my primary clients, if you will, are the media planning teams and all the marketing teams across the brands. However, I've been in this job a few years, and I've learned that the trends information is really interesting to people in all corners of the company. So I've struck up some very awesome collaborations with teams that are outside of marketing as well. So it's a really, really awesome job. I feel very lucky to be in it, and I'm really just trying to push Turner to become a more experimental and innovative company overall. So to give you an idea of the types of trends that I'm looking at, these are the top 10 trends that I've been evangelizing over this past year. I know we're getting pretty close to the end. I'm already looking at 2014 trends. As many of my friends in the room can attest, I can probably geek out and talk to you for an hour about any of these topics. In particular, things that really excite me are things like 3D printing and the maker movement. So as a quick example, some ways that I've made that come to life at Turner is I secured the first ever corporate license from Make Magazine to host a maker fair at Turner. We did that a couple weeks ago. Mass Collective was there. They brought their 7-foot Tesla coil. It was amazing. It's a great showcase of all things DIY. And then I've brought in companies like MakerBot and 3D Systems to show the impact that 3D printing will have on our lives. So these are all other great conversations that we should have at some point. But today I'm here to talk to you about the #1 trend, which you will notice is play. Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. I started to pick up on this trend a little over a year ago, probably end of last summer. And from around the world, as I was traveling and looking at all my feeds and blogs, I started to see some really wonderful examples of playfulness pop up, one right after the other. And I'm talking specifically about adults playing. I'm not talking about kids playing here. I'm not talking about anything involving a phone or a device, nothing with points or badges or gamification. I'm talking about adults kind of wanting to have a moment of unexpected levity, of playing in a kid-like way. And to me, it's a reflection of the global economic climate, certainly, but maybe also a counter trend to everything being so digital and connected, and of so much of our lives spent in front of a computer, right, where everything is so abstract and virtual. So hence a desire to return to things like making things with our hands and with playing. So here just are a few examples of what I started to see around the world. So in the Netherlands, this is a slide that goes down to a commuter train station. So obviously meant for adults, right? At the end of a long day of work, you're getting on the train to commute home. Instead of the stairs, maybe you're going to take the slide. They actually called it the transfer accelerator. So in Munich, a university built this. These 2 slides are inside a dormitory. Isn't that awesome? So the giant rubber duck project started popping up all over the world. The first US location was in Pittsburgh, and it had over 1 million visitors, and its entire mission is to spread joy around the world. In Russia, they installed an entire road through a forest, 170 feet of trampoline, which is nearly a city block long. Kind of looks like the Beltline, right? Wouldn't that be amazing? And then that inspired a concept only, not reality, but this was submitted for a design contest, a trampoline bridge across the river in Paris. This project is out of LA, and it's called Random Swings of Joy, which is pretty self-explanatory. So they popped up these swings in random, unexpected places, like underneath bridges, underneath billboards, really, again, aimed at getting adults to just kind of snap out of their everyday and look at their space a little differently and have this moment of joy and levity. This is a project I saw out of Montreal. It's a lighted swing set that creates musical harmonies. So independently, if you're swinging on one, it will trigger a single sound, like a piano key or a strum of a harp. But if you figured out that you and your friends are supposed to swing together, then that would unlock additional sounds, and a secret song would actually play as you swing together in synchrony. Isn't that wonderful? I know. Oh. And out of London, Evian Water actually did this installation. They built an adult-sized playground with swings and seesaws. And the magical thing about this installation was that all of the playground equipment was hooked up to snow generators. So it's kind of dreary and gray in London, but the more you swing or seesaw, the more it caused it to snow over the playground. So I loved that. One of my favorite examples. And another one of my favorite examples, I saw International Pillow Fight Day. How many of you guys have been? Anyone? Yay! So it happens all over the world, first Saturday in April of every year. New York, Tokyo, Berlin, even Atlanta. I think in Atlanta it's happened in both Freedom Park and Piedmont Park. So save the date for next April. Looks like a lot of fun. So these are just a few of a lot of examples that I started to see pop up all over the place. And when I am looking around the world, kind of scouring for patterns the way I do, and I see something or the same idea pop up in a design blog, a PR blog, a tech blog, a sustainability blog, that's when my antenna really goes up, right? I'm like, oh, this is a pattern. This is something new. And this is certainly a trend that our Turner brands can have so much fun with. Immediately, I started thinking of Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, TBS with their very funny brand, Turner Sports, certainly. So at this point, the challenge I'm faced with, so this was around last September, October, the challenge I'm faced with is, so how do I get this information out to the Turner community? I could certainly have done a PowerPoint and gone around the company and talked about it a couple times, and that would have been fine. But the wonderful part of my job is that I don't have to do that. It's a blank slate every time I see something new pop up, how I want to get that information across. And I thought it would be super lame to just talk about play, right? So we decided to just kind of do it guerrilla style and, just to make it happen. So the medium is the message, right? So I totally snuck in a McLuhan quote. I'm very proud. So we snuck in over a weekend. We were armed with neon green duct tape, and we basically just put up all these pop-up play areas all over our campuses in Turner, Techwood campus, and CNN. So these two were at the CNN Center. We did it over a weekend so that when people came into work on Monday, all of a sudden these had popped up. And these were at our Techwood campus in Midtown. And I can't tell you how many people called me up and said, hey, Karyn, I just saw a grown man in a suit hopscotch into work today. And that would make my day every time. It happened more times than you think. So I just wanted to mention, at some point after this project, I learned about a department at Turner called Risk Management that I did not know existed. So long story short, if I were to share a lesson I learned out of doing this and many other things I've done on campus, it would be to ask for forgiveness and not permission. Lots of awesome conversations came out of doing this on campus, and maybe they wouldn't have happened if I had asked for permission first. So obviously use your sound judgment, but I would say if you want something fun and wonderful to happen, you have to make it happen. So just be bold and just go out there and do it, and ask for forgiveness later if you have to. So as I was saying, these installations actually led to some really great conversations at the company. So at the same time, in addition to dreaming up stuff like this, I also curate a company-wide speaker series every quarter. So that quarter, my team brought in 2 experts on play. One of them was an artist behind something called the Red Ball Project. And the other was a woman from Google who talked about conference bikes and no pants day and all the other wonderful ways that Google really purposefully infuses play into their corporate DNA. So all of this together just started some great conversations, and one of those conversations was with our HR team. And our HR team is really keen right now on making Turner a more playful place, which is wonderful. So eventually, we had some brainstorms, we formed some great collaborations, and that's another lesson too, is really find your allies. To make anything happen at a company like Turner, you have to have lots of great allies. And we actually made something happen. We made this. So this is live inside the CNN Center right now as we speak. It's a piano staircase that we wrapped obviously to look like a piano keyboard. There are lasers on it so that it's actually triggering real piano sounds as people are walking up and down. So there's a GoPro pointed on it, and I thought it would be fun to take a look at the live stream. People should be getting into work right about now, so let's see if what's happening. Do we have audio? I know the live stream and the internet connection here is a little finicky. So you should be hearing this wonderful piano sound playing as people are walking up and down. So I should say this is not a wildly new idea. This was actually inspired by something Volkswagen did a few years ago in Sweden as part of something called the fun theory. Hopefully somebody will start walking. And we chose to do this because it's a proven concept, but it's also really playful. We tied it into the Time Warner Fit Nation Walking Challenge, which is something that was going on, as well as Upwave, which is a new brand we just launched around health and wellness. So lots of allies, like I said. And for a corporation the size of Turner to do something like this, it was kind of extraordinary. So the other thing I should mention is that we have data on the staircase. We've got a step counter mounted at the top, and it's pretty funny, the graphs you see. On Monday, everybody's like, all right, I'm gonna take the stairs, huge spike. And then by Friday, it's like, oh, everyone's on the escalator. So the graph literally looks like this, week after week. Do we have audio on this one? Oh, I hear it's very, very faint. Is there a lag? Okay, it's all right. Let's go back. Well, anyhow, hopefully you get the idea. I actually know a lot of people who leave the live stream open in the background as they work because the piano sounds are very soothing. It's on a C major scale with some chords peppered in there, so it's just, it's very pretty. Although next week, being the week of Halloween, we've got some surprises in store. It will not sound like a piano. So there's a lot of research that proves that play lies at the heart of creativity and innovation, right? So playful people are more creative, they're better problem solvers, and they're happier people. And happier people are better employees, right? Kind of a no-brainer. So we, people like us really want to work for companies where they care about fostering that kind of culture. So I'm really happy that I've been one of the catalysts for spurring that conversation on at Turner, and we are already starting to have lots of great conversations about what can we do for our other campuses at Techwood in New York, LA, Chicago, London, Hong Kong. Everybody wants in. So I feel like we're on the cusp of something really big here. And also, as for the speaker series I curate next month, I'm bringing in a woman whose title is Chief Happiness Officer. She's from Zappos, and Zappos is one of those companies that's really well known for purposefully creating a corporate culture of happiness, and they're profitable at the same time. So I'm very excited to hear her speak and to meet her because I totally want her job title. So what I've come to realize through this process is that I really love the part of my job where I get to influence the culture of the company as a whole. And you're probably thinking that I'm really lucky to have a job where I get to make something like a piano staircase, and you would be right. I am extremely lucky. But you guys should also know that a great part of what I do, including this project, is actually outside of my actual job description. So a great mentor of mine once told me, do the job you hope to have, and eventually that will be your job. And I really took that to heart when I heard it. So obviously, do your actual job well, but then go above and beyond. Do what you're really passionate about and what makes you happy. And make your passions known far and wide, because when you do that, then everybody becomes your advocate. And the idea is, if you do the job you hope to have, then eventually people will come to expect that of you, and it will be your job. So in my case, luckily, I've found that to be very true. And I've been at Turner about 8 years, and I know that's been true I've seen that happen for quite a few other people as well. And when new jobs get created, it's almost always for someone who's already doing that job. So And I would also say this, for creative people like us who are in this type of industry, the job that you might have in the future, in a couple years, it may not even exist yet, right? Insights and inspiration, chief happiness officer, chief culture officer, these are jobs that did not exist even a couple years ago. So if you don't have some sort of master plan for your life, I would say that's okay, because the jobs you might have may not even exist yet, and you might just get to create a wonderful job for yourself if you just keep doing the things that you're very passionate about. Okay, so I realized after this journey the past year about this particular trend that bringing play back into our lives is actually something I'm very, very passionate about. It's sort of like I woke up from this sleep or hibernation that I didn't really realize I was in, and now I'm just obsessed with the topic. And I want to make it happen not just for Turner and our other campuses, but for the city as well. So this is a quote from Aaron Fortner's talk, Creative Mornings talk a couple months ago on the topic of urbanism. I loved that talk, and I loved this quote, and I really want play to be a part of our unique story here in Atlanta. So, oh, and I wanted to mention, I've been very nomadic my entire life, but I'm happy to call Atlanta home now, and I love Atlanta so much. It seems to me that we're just brimming with possibility here in Atlanta right now. Don't you guys feel that way? So a while back, I was browsing through my RSS feeds, and a headline from the New York Times caught my eye. The original headline actually said, "New York builds its first adult-sized playground." And I thought, yes, somebody's made one of my dreams come true. So I click into the story, and that's the photo. And I'm like, oh, that's not really an adult-sized playground. That's more like a gym. You know what? This is an adult-sized playground. This is an actual installation done in Germany called In Orbit. So in thinking about Atlanta, I just want to leave you with a couple of projects that I really love, that really turns the city itself into a playground, that again really just gets you to snap out of your everyday and to look at your space a little bit differently. So I think that we should be inspired by examples like this. Do you guys remember that telescope project between New York and London a few years ago? So there was one of these on either side, and it was a live stream to the other location. So if you were in New York and you peered into the telescope, you saw a live feed of London in real time. So people got really playful. They waved at each other. They wrote each other notes and made friends that way. It was pretty great. We can play Tetris on a building live by hacking into and putting some lights inside. This is actually an installation done in Seoul, South Korea by the local government. So the sculpture is supposed to look like a giant ear, and the idea is you're supposed to talk into the ear, and supposedly the government's actually listening to you. So when I see something like this, I just immediately think of a dozen different ways we can just put a creative twist on it and do something different for us, right? And it doesn't have to be high-tech either. It can just be something like this, right? Or this, or that. This is a citywide initiative in Lucerne, Switzerland. They wanted to get people to behave more responsibly simply by making it a little bit more fun. This is a pop-up park on wheels powered by a bicycle. This is actually done by Coke in Eastern Europe. So wherever the bicycle goes, there's a little pop-up happiness right there. And we can even make our play do some social good. So this is a playground in Nigeria where all of the playground equipment actually generates electricity for the school that it's attached to. So Atlanta keeps getting better and better, and I think we can make it even more magical through play. So let's think of the whole city as our playground. So to do my part, here's my mission for 2014. These are the two things I want to make happen. So there's a very wonderful street games festival called Come Out and Play. They are in New York and San Francisco every year. They're armed with a whole army of wonderful game designers who come up with street games. I don't know what's happening there, but it looks fun. Their entire mission is to get people like us out into the streets, playing, interacting with, meeting one another. I've been to both of the festivals in these two cities. It's awesome, and I desperately want them to come to Atlanta. The other one is the Red Ball project I mentioned earlier. So this artist will work with a city he's installing in and pop up this giant red ball in an unexpected new location every single day. So look at this. I want that here. So here's my call to action for you. If you can help me make this happen, either of these ideas for Atlanta, or if you have other ideas, or if you just want to continue this conversation about play, I invite you to get in touch with me. I'd love to meet you. We can get together for coffee and take it from there. Thank you very much. Okay, one more thing. Thank you guys. One more thing. Congratulations to Dee, who you are so brave. I'm winning the giant Jenga set. So thanks to my husband Keith for helping to make the life-size set of Jenga that you see back there, and thanks to my friend Kurt for the specs. So in the spirit of making and playing, this is a super easy DIY project that I encourage all of you to do. It's like 17 bucks and a trip to Home Depot or Lowe's. So these are the directions, and I invite you to all make your own sets and play. So thanks again.
Let's give it another round of applause.
Oh, right.
All right, so we're going to do a Q&A with Karyn. So if you have any questions, raise your hand, and I'll run the mic to you. You can ask the question in the mic.
I see a hand back there.
Hi. So
Hi.
when you're in the middle of like building stair step pianos and stuff like that, does your boss ever tell you, you have a job description, you need to do it, stop goofing off?
No, I'm very, very lucky. As I mentioned, I do my actual job very, very well, and then I do the other stuff that makes me really happy too. And I'm very, very lucky to have a chain of command where I work that's incredibly supportive, and they see the value that our team is bringing to the company. In addition to creating value for the media planning and marketing teams, obviously when we do stuff like this, it makes Turner look better overall around the world. It makes Turner seem like a more innovative company that will attract and retain great talent, and that benefits everybody. So they're incredibly supportive of that, and I'm very lucky. About play specifically. So I think the catalyst was when I started to see the pattern pop up around the world, like when I started to see that Netherlands slide and the random swings of joy. These examples actually popped up pretty quickly in succession, and literally a light bulb went off above my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a new trend. And a few months later, after I had done the play installations at CNN and TechWid, JWT, which is a huge global ad agency, released their trends report for the year, and they named play as their #1 trend of the year as well. So that's always nice when it happens to know that I'm doing it right. But I think that was the trigger when I started to see that, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this. Like, I've been so hungry for this, and obviously I'm not the only one. And that's when I realized I had to do my part to kind of make it happen too. So I'm really happy that I chose to do it the way that we did, and because it generated a lot more conversations than I think a PowerPoint ever could have.
I'm curious if you're seeing that the places where people are playing or inventing play space, is it making people more fond of where they live? Like, I do the Atlanta Beltline Lantern Parade, and one of my theories is that events based in civic play foster enduring bonds between people and place.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. I don't know that there's any hard data around that, but I mean, anecdotally, I would say, of course, right? And thank you so much, Chantel, for what you do for Atlanta. I mean, it's amazing. I love the Lantern Parade and other things that we already have, like Flex Night and Streets Alive. I mean, those things make me love Atlanta, the things that get me outside and interacting and meeting with people like you guys. I just kind of want to do my part to add to that, because I think it can get better and better. Yes.
Thank you. Hi, guys. So you mentioned getting cooperation across departments over at CNN and Turner.
I'm sorry, I mentioned what?
Getting cooperation
Cooperation, yes.
between the different departments,
Uh-huh.
which in a large corporation, I don't know if anyone here works in a massive
Yes.
one. I mean, it can
It's
be
a hard
really,
thing to do.
and especially when you have such a soft sort of investment. Piano staircases.
Yes.
They're not.
It was a hard sell, believe
The
it or not.
ROI is,
Yeah.
the ROI isn't necessarily
Exactly.
obvious. So do you have any strategies to really kind of go to these different departments with interesting ideas and get them not only involved but passionate about it as you are?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So that kind of goes to what I mentioned a little bit about find your allies. It's very, very important in a big company like Turner, and the Turner especially is so relationship based. Nothing gets done unless you know people and you have good relationships there. So invest a lot of time building up those relationships and have those conversations. Find the people whose eyes also light up about the same things that you do, and those are your allies. Those are the people who will help you when things like piano staircase comes together. So I kind of do as much as I can to stay top of mind for people. So as part of my regular job, I curate a top 10, I call it top 10 things from the future list that I send out every week, so that my name and new ideas that, I kind of see as brain food are constantly popping up in people's email boxes so that they get excited every week about new things we could be doing. I have so many coffee meetings that I'm like constantly caffeinated, coffees, breakfasts, lunches with people all around the company just to talk about what's new and exciting that I'm seeing and what I can help with them with. And, I don't have any control over people's budgets or resources or timelines. I didn't spend any of my own money or budget on this. It's just kind of planting seeds all over the company and watching them sprout a month later, 6 months later, a year later. So I've just, over the course of the 8 years I've been there, kind of amassed this army of wonderful allies who love the same things as I do. And so when opportunities like this come up, I can easily pick up the phone and say, hey, do you want to partner up on this? And do you want to contribute some content or some money or resources or whatever? So that's kind of how it all happened. Yep.
Can you tell us about some of those seeds that you've planted, more how you've integrated play on more the brand marketing level at Turner than the organization level?
Yeah, so let's see, what else has happened with play? The piano staircase has probably been the biggest success, I would say. A couple years ago, we were talking about something related to play, which was gamification. Just the idea that if you add a game layer to something, you can get consumers to behave in a certain way. So again, our whole team made that come to life via a scavenger hunt all over campus. So people, while running around all over campus, learned about trends. This was a couple years ago. So we made, again, the medium is the message. We made it what it was. So through playing the game, you learned about gamification. So we started working with marketing teams after that happened and a couple executions. So for example, for the TCM Film Festival, they run a classic film festival out in LA every year. And for the first time that year, they had expanded to multiple venues. And their marketing challenge was getting people to go to all the venues and to get up early to go to some early morning screenings. So as a result of the games that I had done, we had some conversations and we designed up a bingo game for them. So TCM has kind of an older demographic, so bingo is a great metaphor for them. It's something easily understandable, no technology, but each board on the square was a physical location that you had to go to or an early morning screening. So it worked really well for everybody, right? The audience excitedly, happily went to all of the venues, got up early for the chance to win some great TCM prizes. So the marketing team, they were really happy about that. And then Clark Howard saw, and this is how it happens at Turner, people start talking to each other and ideas start flowing. So Clark Howard from HLN, their team saw that execution, they loved it. So Clark was publishing a book that year and they adapted the bingo game for his book release parties. And again, their marketing challenge there was that they were scared people would come to the parties, get a signed copy, and then leave. And they really wanted people to stay at the parties. So instead of physical locations on the board, we made the game spots in the book that you had to look through to get answers. So people stayed because they wanted to find out if they had won or not. So Clark took that on tour with them all over the country, and it was a huge success for that particular marketing team. So, and then there's other fun stuff like the relationships that I've made with MakerBot and 3D Systems. MakerBot was at the Turner restaurant takeover at South by Southwest the last couple of years as a result of that. So yeah, lots of fun conversations and seeds that sprout.
Let's do one more question.
Okay, back there. Yeah, I think more and more companies are embracing that. Turner's talking a lot about millennials right now, about attracting great young talent and keeping it. And I really think companies have to move in this direction in order to get great people to work there. You know, we spend so much of our lives at work. We really want to be happy where we work, right? And if we're happy, we're going to do better work for you. Kind of a no-brainer. So Google is probably the top example that comes to mind. The woman who came to speak was great. I mean, like I mentioned, they have these conference bikes that are like big circular bikes that everybody pedals, and you're having a conference meeting at the same time, and they have no pants day. So she told a story about how a guy came in to interview, and upon finding out that it was no pants day, he promptly stood up and dropped his pants and was like, all right, I'm in. They have companies like Google and Lego all have big slides, you know, in the middle of their office building. So that's what everybody is begging me for next, is a slide somewhere, and I would love to see that happen. Zappos is another company that I already mentioned. They have a chief happiness officer, which is amazing. So they are very, very much focused on making their employees happy as well. And I think there are a lot of other companies that do it in lots of smaller ways as well, but I think it's a trend that you'll see more and more. But I also think it's kind of a grassroots kind of thing, right? I mean, the piano stairs happened as kind of a grassroots conversation. HR literally said, we feel this like urge from the people in a grassroots kind of way that they want this, so let's tap into it and make them happy and do something. I think when we want our environment to be like this, we have to be the ones to make it happen. So through doing stuff like this and talking about it, we can kind of, you know, make change from the bottom up and get folks like HR to pay attention and then to fund fun projects like this. And in that way, we create the culture and environment that we want to work in.
Jay has one more question that he begged to ask, so
Okay,
we're going to
one
let
more.
him ask.
Sure.
Thank you, Karyn. In Atlanta, and just in sticking with the theme, you know, when we did the apple bobbing contest, wonderful, phenomenal. I didn't have my caffeine, so I needed that. But when you see a city like Atlanta that's still so kind of segregated, right? But play kind of, it brings us all together, you know, like that did.
Yeah.
So I've been to like 4 interviews at ad agencies, and it's been like very few African Americans there. And I've asked the questions to some of the people. So in your challenge and the things that you want to accomplish in a city like this, what would you say to us to kind of break down that thing that kind of still separates us? Because when you play like video games online, you don't care who you play. So
Right,
let's get a game in
right.
at 1 o'clock, and it's,
Yeah.
I don't care, you know. But when it's time to play, it's kind of like, wait, we have a line of creativity that we tend to not be so inclusive. So
Oh, interesting.
as we leave,
Okay.
what would you recommend to us to kind of break down so we can achieve this playful environment in Atlanta?
Huh. I mean, I think you answered your own question right there. I think it's we bring more play to Atlanta. I think it's about getting like-minded people together, right? And let's come out and play to Atlanta. Let's bring the Red Ball Project to Atlanta. Let's pop up graffiti play areas all over, and anything that's going to get people outside together and just talking with and interacting with each other. And when we do that, we'll realize that we're like-minded people and we have so much more in common than not. And that's kind of the possibility I mentioned. Like, I see Atlanta kind of at this turning point right now where amazing, exciting things are happening, but it's still very, very fragmented, right? There's a lot of awesome in Atlanta, and it's all very fragmented. So as much as we can do through play and other initiatives to get people together and to connect all of that awesomeness, I think that's the way to do it. Thank you, guys.
Let's give a round of applause.